Ecstatic Bliss. Secrets to living a juicy life. Shadow work, ego dissolution, identity shifting, quantum manifestation, Kundalini activation, chakra balancing, rising consciousness, and tools like breathwork, chakra harmonization, light language, shamanic journeys, plant medicine, and so forth. These and others are buzzwords nowadays in our society when it comes to spirituality. And today I would like to point towards one common baseline. All of these buzzwords, whether they are concepts or tools, point to the very same thing. And for me, this is soul alignment. Maybe you have already journeyed with me for a while and have already also listened to some other podcast episodes and also know that one of my main offerings is called soul alignment. Then you already have some more glimpses into what soul alignment truly is. It is the return to your core frequency, to your core essence, as I always describe the song of your soul, like a vibration your soul is singing, and is here to rediscover, to remember, and to embody, to then transmit it into the world as a frequency and uplift humanity in a way. And very short. And I feel like people that start seeking for something grander than themselves, they start questioning, who am I? What is beyond this life I'm currently living day in and day out? It's an innocence that brings them on this journey. And then it gets also oftentimes very, very exciting with all these tools I just mentioned and these books about it, podcasts, and calendar quotes, workshops, trainings, and so forth, that sometimes I feel people get either lost in it or don't really remember the deeper truth of why they are on this path. Yeah, and maybe that's also a phase that is necessary because in a way also our soul wields information so that we continue going. Otherwise, sometimes the ego kicks in and says like, if I already know that, why should I go the path and do the work? But I want to remind you today of this underlying soul alignment of all of it. Why do you do the shadow work? Why do you do the Kundalini activation? Why do you do all these workshops and trainings? Why? What for? What is the true purpose beneath maybe a perceived purpose that your mind comes up with? And I would argue it's soul alignment. Even if you're not aware of it, your soul wants to vibrate again in purity through your body. Because it's just not your limited human self that is managing the show, although it is perceived like that with this ego in place that we have here on this planet. But your soul is orchestrating everything behind the scenes. Your soul is the one directing. Your soul is having this temporary experience, is using this body for exploration and growth and expansion and feeling, sensing, this is how I am or what I am when I'm in this limited, pressed form and with perceived illusion, limitations, restrictions. So spiritual awakening is awakening to the truth that you are the soul, and the soul in turn is a fragment of the divine, that on a higher perspective it is not only soul alignment, but also the remembrance of your own divine essence, that you are it, you are everything and nothing and in between. Yeah, something that we cannot really put in words and that we cannot really grasp by our human mind. Something that I feel even no matter how long you've journeyed on this path, you will never fully, completely understand it. And if you think like, I've understood a part of it, or I've understood a major thing of it, next moment again, most obviously, oftentimes, it proves you differently and you're like, again, lost in the paradox of life. That's part of the game. And yeah. So what I also mean by that, as I mentioned, I feel a lot of people get lost in this, first of all, seeking, and then finding solutions, and then in a race almost, like I want as fast as possible to get to the answers I have questions for, or to clear out and purge and be a clear channel, or. Most efficient, most fastest way of doing it. And then we are again in an ego layer, the spiritual ego, that sometimes sneaks in to validate, to prove something, to be validated, to show off sometimes also, or to say, I have mastered this and now I can teach this to others, or now I am a guru, now I am going out and show the world what is possible when you are in this stage of your spiritual awakening. I'm more conscious than others. So yeah, just as an awareness here, that also on that path, soul alignment doesn't mean you are fully awake maybe, but it means that you are so aware of your own vibration and codes that you bear so that you can access them consciously and use them purposefully. And that's a process, that's a journey, obviously. Never-ending journey. In the beginning, it may seem a little bit more epic, like leaps of evolution and growth. And then it becomes a refinement and refinement and refinement over time. Yeah, smaller nuances you are refining to your true core, your true essence. And that essence is what never changes. And that is truly what you seek. This essence, which is the divine spark inside of you. And translated through the soul to your human self, to your avatar, to carry out certain tasks and move forward, take choices and actions. So soul alignment in that way also is our natural state of being. It's being in coherence with your own innermost self. Soul alignment is therefore a remembrance, a return, and nothing that needs to be achieved in that way from one perspective. And yes, of course, if you are in the other perspective, then it's I have to do this and that and release this and this, reclaim this. Yeah, that's a game. It's a paradox. We can see it from multiple angles, and whichever way you take, that's your reality you're perceiving and experiencing right now. So either way, you experience spiritual awakening as something very hard and tedious and painful, suffering also. Or you switch perspective and say like, somehow ridiculous that we think about it this way, that we have wounds to heal, that we have past life trauma to carry and dissolve, that we have soul contracts to navigate. And all of this is true from that one perspective, and that's why the game keeps running. But from another perspective, you are already aligned with your soul. It's just the cluttering around it that you believe in, the illusions that need to be removed. So you see, paradox, I mention it again. It's a paradox of life, and sometimes we find ourselves maybe in one direction, sometimes in the other direction more, and it's finding a sweet balance between it to not get lost in either one and not get hooked in either one. But soul alignment is, in my opinion, not enough spoken about. At least I've not found many people, if any, apart from me, talking about it. Like, come back to your soul. Because a lot of people seem still to be lost in their human self and their storylines, in their everyday hustle, bustle and challenges, which is understandable. But all of this is illusionary clutter around what is truly, in essence, you came here for to experience and explore from a deeper spiritual level. And that is your soul. And therefore, maybe if this for now is not so much in your field, although if you are listening to this right now, probably it is coming or already very dominant in your field, soul alignment, then it is time to sit down and connect with this deeper layer beneath the storylines and beliefs and conditionings you hold, your soul. You don't have to have an answer, what is soul, or what is the definition of soul, but the sense of it, a feeling, so that you know, this is how my soul feels, or, this is somehow off, this is strange, this is not who I truly am, this is out of alignment, not in alignment with my soul. To have this distinction, at least, and that may start with a gut feeling, or your intuition, or your heart, or a guidance from above, however it shows up, so that you train yourself to hear your soul, to listen to your soul and act upon your soul, instead of the limited human logic and beliefs and conditionings. Of course, no matter what you do on the spiritual path is contributing to soul alignment. But what I want to give in here is especially this remembrance why you are on this path, to not get lost in a race or competition or showing off how much you've worked on yourself, or even being in a victim mentality of how much you have to go through because of ancestors and karma and lifetimes and your multidimensionality. Yeah, this is also a thing some people get trapped in, apparently, in the victimhood, not only of their life story, but on their spiritual path. And to really acknowledge again your soul's truth, and the return back to coherence with your soul. And I may speak into that topic of soul alignment, soul coherence, over-soul coherence, especially also at a later stage, because I feel if I talk too much about it, it becomes too constructional, too conceptual for some people. And yeah, I want you to rather stay on the perceived and felt level, how you can see where you are currently in, and where you maybe have lost track of what it is truly about, spiritual awakening. Yeah, it's not about just experiencing and shedding and letting go and reclaiming. It is the return to inner alignment. And maybe this soul alignment can become your new orientation whenever you get lost on the path, whenever you get frustrated, angry, that you remember why you are here, and that you can journey forward in devotion to your soul. I often say this, in devotion to your soul. Why? Because I feel it alleviates a little bit of the pressure the human sometimes feels, the responsibility sometimes felt, or just the heaviness and seriousness. Because in devotion to your soul is rather something very sacred, and something that we are humble and devoted, that we are humble enough to understand this is not about me, myself and I, my little human, but it's about something bigger. Of course, this is also part of a paradox again, the perspective switch between I'm the human and this is my soul. That's not true, because you are it. You are the soul, you are the divine. And if you are in devotion to your soul, it's you in devotion for yourself. So in a way, you may reframe it, even if that fits better in your picture or in your felt sense, that journeying on the spiritual path, spiritual awakening, is to return home, that you have committed yourself, your soul is ready to remember the truth, is on this spiral back home, that you reframe it in that way. You are in devotion to yourself. You are in devotion to truth. You are in devotion to love. And that there is no wrong or right, that you don't have to put yourself under pressure to whatever achieve in this lifetime, because it continues anyways in some form. Even if you say this is my last time on this planet, in some form your energy will continue. even if it merges back into the greater whole. So there's no end. There is no end. And therefore, maybe this is an invitation not only to remember soul alignment as not really a goal, but the underlying current that drives you, and a little bit like a destination to look forward to, but also to, as we always say, enjoy the journey as much as you can and not get lost in concepts, in tools, in what other people say you really have to do, because this is oftentimes also just marketing that you have to do X, Y, Z to move forward on your spiritual path. It is your path, your journey, your soul, and each and every one of us has a different experience. And also, if you get lost on that path, remember your soul is orchestrating everything. You are not lost. Your human avatar feels lost, but your soul always has a plan. And I have already also a podcast episode about that. So much love and bliss as always on your journey back home to soul alignment, soul coherence, and divine truth. Soraya Ananda. If you feel the deep pull to walk this spiral more intimately, Soulgasm, my 6-month one-on-one sacred mentoring awaits you. This is a living embodiment of all I transmit here, but uniquely decoded for your soul. Enter the portal of ecstatic bliss and unleash your personal soulgasmic reality. All details and the link to book your vibrational match call are in the show notes.